Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the podcast, and welcome to your Friday Night Smackdown post-show, man. And certain things happen on Smackdown, and we're going to get into all that stuff today on today's episode, man. But we start off the night, man, in the backstage area of Friday Night Smackdown, where we see Jey Uso pretty much getting transported into an ambulance, and he's sitting on a gurney. Got a bunch of superstars backstage. You also have Nick Aldis backstage and Cody Rhodes, as well as Jacob Fatu. Rhodes then asked Nick Aldis what happened. What happened to Jey Uso? After that, McIntyre is here. You can see him walking through the stage with a microphone in hand. McIntyre says that he has nothing to do with Jey getting hurt. After this, McIntyre is interrupted by Nick Aldis. Aldis then tells McIntyre to go to his office. After that, Nick Aldis and Drew McIntyre are interrupted by none other than Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes makes a beeline to the ring, grabs a microphone. Rhodes says he wants to fight now. He's tired of waiting. Rhodes then mocks McIntyre, and Rhodes also mocks McIntyre's title reign. After that, Cody Rhodes is interrupted by none other than the Viper, Randy Orton. Orton is here. Orton says that he feels bad for Jey, but he is focused on the Chamber. After that, Orton and Rhodes are interrupted by Trick Williams. Trick comes out to the ring, grabs a microphone. He talks about the Elimination Chamber, but Trick Williams is quickly interrupted by Javon Evans. Evans then talks about the history that he's had with Trick Williams. After that, Evans is interrupted by none other than L.A. Knight. L.A. Knight comes out to the ring, has a microphone in hand. He mocks Trick Williams. L.A. Knight says that the title belongs to him. L.A. Knight then attacks Trick Williams. Orton then quickly hits an RKO on Javon Evans, leaving Evans helpless in the middle of the ring, and Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton have a stare down in the middle of the ring. Moving on from that, we go into our first official match of Friday Night SmackDown. It is Solo Sikoa taking on Uncle Howdy. A little bit of a rivalry here between Sikoa and Howdy that's been going on for quite some time. The match itself was a decent match. It was a back-and-forth matchup between Sikoa and Howdy, with Solo and Howdy both exchanging in the middle of the ring. Uncle Howdy was trying to keep the pace of the match, but Solo hits a splash on Uncle Howdy for a near fall. Solo then goes for Sister Abigail on Uncle Howdy, but Howdy applies a mandible claw on Solo Sikoa. Uncle Howdy then quickly hits a Sister Abigail, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is Uncle Howdy. After the match, Howdy goes to the outside. He grabs the lantern, but he's quickly attacked by the MFTs, and the MFTs end up taking the lantern back from Uncle Howdy. So it looks like the MFTs and the Wyatt Six are far from being over. Moving on from that, we see the Vision backstage with Paul Heyman. Heyman then says that he wants Logan Paul in the Elimination Chamber. And then Logan Paul was trying to convince Nick Aldis for a spot in the Elimination Chamber. Some interesting stuff there from the Vision. Moving on from that, we have an impromptu matchup. It is Asuka taking on Tiffany Stratton. But Asuka comes out to the ring and says that she is resting before the Chamber. Instead, it will be Tiffany Stratton versus Kairi Sane. The match between Sane and Stratton, it was a decent match. It was a back-and-forth matchup between Kairi Sane and Stratton, with Stratton keeping the pace of the match. Stratton ends up hitting a botched move to the outside, but Stratton ultimately hits an Alabama Slam on Sane as well for a near fall. Kairi Sane then hits a foot stomp on Stratton for a near fall, but Tiffany then pushes Kairi off the top, takes out Alba Fire, who was ringside with Chelsea Green. This allowed Tiffany Stratton to hit a moonsault off the top rope, landing on Kairi Sane, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is Tiffany Stratton. Hats off to Tiffany Stratton for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we have Nick Aldis backstage with the Vision. Nick Aldis announces that it will be, in fact, Logan Paul getting an opportunity at the Elimination Chamber only if he beats Jacob Fatu later on in the night. So it will be Jacob Fatu versus Logan Paul, and the winner of that match will get a spot in the Elimination Chamber. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. Is the Miz taking on Oba Femi. Miz quickly grabs a microphone and says, we don't need to do this. We don't need to have this matchup. Miz was trying to do whatever he could to convince Oba Femi not to have this matchup or to join forces with the Miz. Miz even called Oba Femi the Undertaker. The match itself was a quick match between the Miz and Oba Femi, with Oba Femi keeping the pace of the match. Oba Femi ultimately hits a devastating powerbomb on the Miz in the middle of the ring, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is Oba Femi. Hats off to Oba Femi for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we have a U.S. Title Open Challenge match where it is Carmelo Hayes taking on Matt Cardona. The match itself, it was a decent match. It was a back-and-forth matchup between Hayes and Cardona, with Cardona keeping the pace of the match. Hayes ends up hitting a springboard leg drop, taking out Cardona. Cardona then gets up, hits an underhook powerbomb on Carmelo Hayes in the middle of the ring for a near fall. Cardona then hits a Hurricane Rana, followed by a Rough Rider on Carmelo Hayes for a near fall. But Carmelo Hayes quickly hits a first 48 on Matt Cardona, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match and still United States champion is Carmelo Hayes. Hats off to Carmelo Hayes for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is Jordynne Grace taking on Candice LeRae. I thought it was an okay match. It was a back-and-forth matchup between Grace and LeRae, with Grace keeping the pace of the match. LeRae hits a step-up enziguri on Jordynne Grace, but Grace gets up, hits a superplex into a jackhammer on Candice LeRae for a near fall. Gargano then is seen walking away. This causes a distraction from LeRae, which allowed Grace to hit a pump handle slam into a German suplex on Candice LeRae, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is Jordynne Grace. Hats off to Jordynne Grace for getting the win in this matchup. And moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. Is for the women's tag team titles. It is Io Sky and Rhea Ripley defending the women's tag team titles against Nia Jax and Lash Legend. Now, the match itself, it was a good match. It was a back-and-forth matchup between both teams, with Io and Rhea keeping the pace of the match. Rhea hits a Hurricane Rana, followed by a powerbomb for a near fall. Rhea then goes to the outside, hits a running senton off the apron to the outside, followed by Nia hitting a Samoan drop on Rhea onto the announce table. Nia Jax then hits a leg drop for a near fall, followed by Io getting up, hitting a moonsault for a near fall. Nia Jax then hits an Annihilator in the middle of the ring for a near fall as well, but Rhea hits a Riptide in the middle of the ring. But Lash Legend ends up hitting her signature Lash Extension in the middle of the ring, pins for the 3, and your winners of the match and new women's tag team champions are Nia Jax and Lash Legend. Hats off to Nia Jax and Lash Legend for becoming the new women's tag team champions. And moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is the main event of Friday Night SmackDown. It is Jacob Fatu taking on Logan Paul, where the winner of this matchup will get a spot in the Elimination Chamber. The match itself, I thought, was a good match. It was a back-and-forth matchup between Fatu and Logan Paul, with Fatu keeping the pace of the match. Logan hits a blockbuster on Fatu, followed by a springboard moonsault for a near fall. Fatu attacks Austin Theory, who was ringside. He also goes after Paul Heyman. This allowed Logan Paul to hit a low blow on Jacob Fatu. A mystery man is here. He ends up attacking Theory, but Logan takes the mask off, and it's just a regular person. Pretty much a nobody. After that, McIntyre then hits Fatu with the title. This allowed Logan to go for the cover, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match, and moving on to the Elimination Chamber, is Logan Paul. Hats off to Logan Paul for getting the win in this matchup. A couple of things I want to talk about with you guys, man, when it pertains to Friday Night SmackDown before I get the hell up out of here, man. I'm going to be honest. I don't even know what the hell is going on as of late, man. I feel like Monday Night Raw and SmackDown has literally been going downhill. You know, this SmackDown that we just had on Friday night, man, felt like it went from 3 hours to 6 hours. It was dreadful, man. It was nauseating. Like, the direction that we're going into the Elimination Chamber, the road to WrestleMania this year, man, it just feels flat. Like, there's no excitement, there's no intrigue. And to be honest with y'all, man, I can honestly say for the first time in quite some time, man, for me personally, that I'm not really looking forward to this year's WrestleMania, minus maybe the Roman Reigns and CM Punk match. The build this year, I know a lot of people are going to say, oh man, they're suffering a lot of injuries. They had Seth Rollins getting hurt. They just recently had Bronson Reed get hurt. Braun Breaker's out with injury due to hernia surgery. They have a lot of injuries right now on the table for WWE, and I get that. But you also have to adapt, bro. You have an abundance of people on this roster, main event stars. And yeah, Bianca Belair is also out as well with a hand injury that she's going to have to get hand surgery as well, which means most likely she's not going to be a part of this year's WrestleMania this year. So obviously injuries are going to shake up a lot of shit going into this year's WrestleMania. I mean, that's pretty evident at this point. But at the same time, bro, we're not building towards matches for this year's WrestleMania. I mean, right now on paper, we have Roman Reigns versus CM Punk. We have Liv Morgan versus Stephanie Vaquer. 2 matches right now, on top of Brock Lesnar's open challenge. 3 matches. With honestly very lackadaisical story, to be honest with you. I mean, yeah, we got the CM Punk and Roman Reigns, which is, hopefully they continue that story there between Punk and Reigns, and we hear more from Punk and Reigns going into their match at WrestleMania. Liv Morgan and Stephanie Vaquer, it's not a bad match. It's not a bad match. But I want to see the story. I want to see how the story develops between Liv Morgan and Stephanie Vaquer. And my thing is with Brock, I mean, you got one of the biggest stars in this company, whether you like the guy or not. He's a money-making guy. He brings in a lot of big business for WWE. He's a main event talent. Whether you like the guy or not, he's a main event talent. But you got Brock out here pretty much lobbying for a open challenge for WrestleMania. You know, you had Paul Heyman last Monday, or I believe it was last Monday, pretty much talking about Brock Lesnar beating the streak years and years ago. Why are we talking about this now? And why is Brock in a situation now where he's looking for an open challenge for a matchup at WrestleMania, which the rumored opponent for Brock was supposed to be LA Knight? Which, if that's the case, LA Knight's going to get glorified, squashed against Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. The match to make with Brock is Obafemi, which I do want to talk about Obafemi here briefly. Number one, I'm a big fan of Obafemi. I think Obafemi is a guy that's going to take this company and take WWE by storm for the next 10, 15 years. Obafemi is that guy. He is the future of this business. He is the future of this company. And the company can really rally behind and rally around Obafemi. This is a star in the making right here with Oba. You know, he's immensely over with the crowd. I mean, the crowd was chanting Oba on Monday Night Raw when Brock and Paul Heyman were cutting that promo in the middle of the ring for Brock's open challenge. A lot of people, myself included. The writing's on the wall, bro. You want a high-profile marquee matchup for WrestleMania? You book Brock Lesnar versus Obafemi. Because right now you're looking at the possibility, if they decide to book that match, where you got Roman Punk, you have Liv Morgan, Stephanie Vaquer, and the possibility of Brock Lesnar taking on Obafemi. Those are 3 high-profile matches going into WrestleMania. I don't want to see LA Knight versus Brock Lesnar, bro. Obafemi is the match to make. Obafemi versus Brock Lesnar. And to be honest with you, if they were to decide to book that match, which they should, Obafemi should go over. It should be the ruler beating the beast. And it puts Obafemi in a whole different upper echelon as far as being a main event caliber talent within the confines of WWE's main roster. That's exactly how I would book that. I would book Obafemi versus Lesnar and have Obafemi beat Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, where Obafemi is not only the new beast, but he's also the ruler. He's the guy. He's the main event attraction for WWE. He's the guy. I mean, the guy walks out literally as a fucking monster, man. You know what I mean? He's a beast, bro. Obafemi is a big dude, bro. Big dude. And he's a force to be reckoned with within the confines of WWE. Whether it's on Monday Night Raw or Friday Night SmackDown, this is the guy. So, you know, we have Obafemi with a couple of these matches. We had a match with Obafemi and The Miz. Obafemi versus Kit Wilson. I want to see Obafemi in a serious program here, hopefully soon on the main roster, whether it's Monday Night Raw or Friday Night SmackDown. And if we're going to push this narrative, or maybe it's Obafemi challenging Brock Lesnar, great. It's definitely a marquee matchup to make for Obafemi. But do I trust Triple H and the current regime right now, as far as creative is concerned, for WWE to actually pull this match off? No, I do not. I don't. But that's the match to make. The other thing I want to talk about too, man, that I'm not really too keen on, and I'm kind of done with, is this whole MFT Wyatt Six bullshit, man. I'm done with it. I'm absolutely done with it, man. And to be honest with you, if I'm being honest, and this is from both sides of the coin here, man, if we're looking at the Wyatt Six and the MFTs, if you're looking at the MFTs, bro, the only notable people in that stable right now that are actually being utilized would have to be Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga. You're not getting Tongaloa in there. You're not getting Tala Tonga. JC Mateo's barely doing shit, a.k.a. Jeff Cobb. Mainly, it's right now on paper, it's Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga that are mainly doing anything as far as competing on SmackDown from that whole stable. And then you look at the the Wyatt Six. Yeah, you could say, okay, well, you got Dexter Lumis and Joe Gacy in that tag team division, and they have matches. Okay, once in a blue moon. But the main one that's doing anything in that entire stable for the Wyatt Six would have to be Uncle Howdy. Nikki Cross ain't doing shit. Eric Rowan's not doing shit. You know what I'm saying? And they're fighting over this goddamn lantern. They have a match on SmackDown where Uncle Howdy beat Solo Sikoa clean. He goes after to get the lantern, and all of a sudden, here comes the MFTs stealing the lantern back once again for the Wyatt Six. This shit between the Wyatt Six and the MFTs needs to come to a goddamn end. It's over, bro. It's over. And to be honest with you, I don't know where we go next with the MFTs. I don't even know where the hell we go next with the Wyatt Six. And I hate to say this, but I think the Wyatt Six, that entire, experiment with the Wyatt Six and bringing them back and bringing back Bo Dallas and everything else like that. I mean, when they came back into the fold of WWE, when they debuted on Raw, it was awesome. I'll never forget it. It was awesome. They had a huge ovation from the crowd. They introduced, every single character in this Wyatt Six stable. It was a great moment, and it was awesome. But we go from that to literally the Wyatt Six beefing with the MFTs for who knows how many months now. It's gotten stale, bro. It's run its course. And to be honest with you, even after this shit's over between the MFTs and the Wyatt Six, I don't know what's next for the Wyatt Six after this. I feel like their ceiling has been met right now, and the ceiling is very, very low at this point for the Wyatt Six. At this point, I would say almost the same thing for the MFTs, to be honest with you. But if we're looking at both stables, I mean, yeah, the ceiling is very low right now for the Wyatt Six. I think that whole experiment with them it's run its course. I think people are just done with it. I don't think they're really that entertained with it anymore. And and unfortunately, I don't think with the Wyatt Six, it's ever going to have that feeling. You know what I mean? When Bray was around, and God rest Bray Wyatt's soul, man, it was a whole different atmosphere. Bro Dallas is not Bray Wyatt. You know what I mean? He's not. Bray Wyatt had a great mind for the business. And the way that he had that character development throughout his career, from being the Bray Wyatt to the Firefly Bray Wyatt, to the Firefly Funhouse, to the Maui Yowie character and the Fiend character, and how that developed for Bray. I mean, this was Bray Wyatt's ideas that came to fruition, and they basically turned chicken shit into chicken salad. And it really made Bray into this whole different echelon as far as being a main event guy. I don't see the same thing coming here from Uncle Howdy in the Wyatt Six. And I'm not trying to disrespect Bo Dallas or the Wyatt Six. It's just they don't give off that same vibe that what Bray Wyatt did when he came out to the ring with the Fiend and the Fiend Lantern and the mystique that came around Bray Wyatt. I don't really get that vibe or that mystique or that holy shit moment or that kind of feeling when it comes to Bo Dallas or Uncle Howdy in the Wyatt Six, man. It's just not there. And I understand and I appreciate what they're trying to do. Obviously, they don't want to see, the legacy of Bray Wyatt just up and vanish and go away because, unfortunately, what happened to Bray Wyatt. And I understand that, and I get that, and I acknowledge that as a fan because I was a huge fan of Bray Wyatt. A lot of us were. And it's sad what happened to him, man. It really was. God rest his soul. But at the same time, it's like I said, when it comes to the Wyatt Six, I don't feel the same feeling of seeing the Wyatt Six that I had the same feeling of seeing Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt was a different type of dude, man. He had a really great mind for the business. And like I said, bro, the character development that he had when he first came into the main roster in WWE and how it developed over time from the Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family to, the Firefly Funhouse and the Fireflies to Maui Yowie to the Fiend, and how all that character development, came to fruition for Bray over the, the time span that he had in WWE. There's never going to be another Bray Wyatt. You know what I mean? And I can appreciate what, Bo Dallas is trying to do, or what Uncle Howdy's trying to do with the Wyatt Six. It doesn't feel the same, and I feel like it's run its course, man. I feel like the Wyatt Six experiment has run its course, and the ceiling, they met that ceiling. I just don't see anything else getting better right now for the Wyatt Six. The other things I want to talk about, too, obviously, the big elephant in the room is Jey Uso. Obviously, Jey Uso, starting off the night, we pan to the backstage area, and we see Jey Uso getting lifted on a gurney and taken into an ambulance. And we see talent and, General Manager Nick Aldis backstage, and Cody Rhodes and Fatu trying to figure out what the fuck is going on, what happened to Jey Uso. And Rhodes is pissed off, Fatu's pissed off. Fatu believes it's McIntyre, Rhodes believes it's McIntyre. Then we see McIntyre in the middle of the ring letting everybody know that he had nothing to do with Jey Uso getting injured. But I want to speak upon that. If you guys go back, whether we're looking at Jacob Fatu when he got injured, and then we see Jey Uso getting injured, there's really been no concrete evidence that Drew McIntyre is the guy behind these attacks. Who attacked Jacob Fatu, and which ultimately wrote Fatu off TV for a few months? Who attacked Jey Uso right before the Elimination Chamber? It's got a lot of people talking because really there's no concrete answer of it being Drew McIntyre. Is it somebody else? You also see, a face-to-face confrontation between Jacob Fatu and Sami Zayn. It could be Zayn. Zayn could be pissed off that, he came up short against Drew McIntyre. He's seen all these other guys around him getting these opportunities, and Sami Zayn's the back of the line again. Is it Sami Zayn? Is Zayn turning heel? Is it Randy Orton who's causing these attacks? Is Randy Orton the person behind Fatu and Jey Uso getting pretty much taken out? Nobody really knows who is behind these attacks that have happened backstage to Jacob Fatu and now Jey Uso, which ultimately cost Jey Uso his spot at the Elimination Chamber. You know what I mean? So again, that's still a question that still needs to be answered. Who is the person behind these mysterious attacks backstage on Jacob Fatu and Jey Uso? And most notably, if you really think about it, these two attacks that we've seen backstage are members of the Bloodline, Jey Uso and Jacob Fatu. So again, it does beg the question, is it Drew McIntyre? Is it Randy Orton? Or maybe, possibly, just a wild card, is it Sami Zayn? Because Zayn has some connections to the Bloodline. He's been in the Bloodline, helping the Bloodline, trying to win matches. Is it Sami Zayn? Is Zayn going to turn heel? And if that's the case, I'm not against it at all. At all. I think Zayn needs it. But again, it's still yet to be determined who is the person behind these attacks that have happened backstage on Friday Night SmackDown with Jacob Fatu and most notably Jey Uso. So, and then speaking of that, we get our main event. We get Logan Paul and Jacob Fatu, where the winner will move on to the Elimination Chamber. Now, to be honest, I wanted Jacob Fatu to win that matchup. Call me crazy, but to have the Samoan Werewolf in the confines of the Elimination Chamber with the likes of Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton and LA Knight and Javon Evans, Trick Williams, not a bad match. Not a bad match at all. And to see the Samoan Werewolf pretty much be unleashed inside that chamber, it would have made for a hell of a chamber. But I get it. They're trying to push this Vision narrative. The Vision play a very vital role right now in Monday Night Raw, especially in WWE in its entirety. It's one of the biggest storylines going right now with the Vision. But I also believe the Vision is cursed. You only have Austin Theory and Logan Paul right now. Braun Breaker's out. And then Bronson Reed just recently got injured with a torn bicep, and he's going to be out. He's going to miss WrestleMania this year, again. So, I can't say that the Vision's not cursed. But, my thing is this. At the end of the day, bro, the direction that we're going, as far as the road to WrestleMania, which is roughly, 7.5 weeks from now, it's stale, man. There's not a lot of excitement, not a lot of intrigue going into the road to WrestleMania this year. It's just not there. I think WWE and the powers that be, whether it be Triple H or whoever's backstage, controlling the narrative for WWE, man, they are playing it safe. And because they're playing it safe, there's no intrigue, there's no interest in these matches or the lead up going into this year's WrestleMania. And I told you guys before, man, that I do not have a lot of faith or hope that this year's WrestleMania is going to be good. I think, honestly, this WrestleMania this year, minus the CM Punk and Roman Reigns match, I think this Mania is ultimately going to bite WWE in the ass. And a lot of people, and I mean a lot of people, are going to be disappointed if they don't start changing shit here quickly and start getting some more intrigue going into this year's WrestleMania, man. So, again, I don't have a lot of faith or hope, for that matter, that this year's WrestleMania is going to be all that good or better than what it was last year. But with that being said, though, this is my review of Friday Night SmackDown. I hope you guys are out there staying safe, Be careful and remember, stay classic. Peace.